everything important I've learned from fictional characters. I know it's hard to imagine, but I've not always been the obsessive book nerd that you all know I am today. In fact, I was one of those kids in lower school that would procrastinate to get her AR points. But in 7th grade, I fell in love with young adult literature, aka YA. I love YA because it deals with an important time in our lives, a time when we're forced to figure out who we are and who we want to be, while also having the pressures of sports, academics, and trying to maintain a social life. It's overwhelming, and it's hard to have a voice when you feel like a rope in a game of tug-of-war. It wasn't until I was a freshman, when I read All the Bright Places, that I truly understood why I loved reading. All the Bright Places is about 2 teens trying to find the good or bright places in life. It was the first book I read that actually mattered to me, and Theodore Finch was the first character that actually had an impact on my life. I love Finch because he's inspiring, creative, and he seemed fearless. But it wasn't until the end that I realized how much he was actually struggling. Throughout the book, I was in love with Finch, but Finch was in love with himself. This was a disappointing realization for me, but it was my first introduction into understanding the importance of mental illness. I had heard about this topic for most of my life, but I had no idea what it was until I fell in love with the character and watched him struggle through it. The first lesson I've learned from fictional characters is point of view. Although people have tried to raise awareness over this topic, the truth is you don't understand it until you yourself go through it or someone you're close to. It wasn't until I became attached to Finch that I got to learn from his point of view, and I got to experience something unfamiliar through the eyes of someone who became familiar. As I read, I was frustrated that no one had ever told me that this is what mental illness was like. And I couldn't help but wonder, if I had been exposed to it earlier, could I have seen it in some of my friends and family growing up and been able to help? The world constantly confines our voices, and if not, we're being labeled. It makes having a voice difficult. But fictional characters have also impacted me to be true to myself. It's important now more than ever that we have a voice. And one of my favorite characters who does have a voice is Libby Strout. She's from Holding Up the Universe, and she's labeled as America's fattest teenager. And the thing I love about Libby is that she never lets the negative comments get her down. And she says a quote that I think is really important. "We are loved, we all matter, and we are all necessary." I think it's sad we don't say it enough. For those who don't suffer or don't read, I think it's hard to understand. I didn't understand. And after realizing that not a lot of people didn't understand, I saw that this was an issue, and I got together with 5 other young adults from all over the world. And together, we started the I Am Here challenge. We asked fans to post a picture of them holding up a sign saying, "I am here," to recognize that we're here and we're not alone. And because our campaign did so well, we started an Instagram account called The Lovelies. The Lovelies is a safe space for those like Finch and Libby. We take turns posting on it positive messages or inspirational quotes. There's something beautiful about words bringing young adults together and having a safe space to share our voices. I read because it's relatable, important, and it's changed my life. I've met so many amazing people, such as fans and authors, and every time I encounter them, I notice we have 2 things in common. 1, our love for literature, and 2, our urge to make a difference. It's so amazing to read a book you love, but it's even cooler to be impacted by it and do something about it. Thank you.